Welcome back to another episode of Daniel Grant Economics. We're picking up right where we left off from our last video, topics related to the production possibility frontier. But today, we're looking at three separate things. Three separate types of production possibility frontier curves. One being increasing, one being decreasing, one being constant. And our last thing we're going to try to cover in this video is things that can shift this production possibility frontier. Whether we're talking inward or outward, whether we're talking one side shifts inward or outward while one side stays the same, we're going to distinguish between something we call shifts and pivots today on this episode. Before we even get into the diagram, we must first ask ourselves, what does increasing, decreasing, and constant opportunity cost means? Remember, opportunity cost is the next best thing foregone in choosing one thing over another. So, with that in mind, apply to the production possibility frontier, we had two commodities. If you want to increase production or consumption in one commodity, and I say there's increasing opportunity cost, what's going to happen is, in order for you to get one more of that commodity, you're going to end up giving up more than you gave up the last time.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Let me repeat it again. As you choose to consume more and more of whatever good, you have to give up more units of the other good in order to attain the additional unit. So you might just give up, hey, I'll give you one, or I'll stop producing one good in exchange for another. And then in the next iteration, you may have to give up producing two of the other good in exchange for one of the one that you actually want. Opportunity cost is increasing. Decreasing is the opposite of this. It means that when you exchange a commodity for another of the other good, it simply means that you're going to give up less and less and less. You may end up giving up, let's say the first instance when you say, I want to increase production in good X. You give up 5 units of good Y. And when you say, you know what, I want another unit of good X, you may end up giving up 3 units of good Y. The opportunity cost, the thing that is lost in exchange to get one additional unit of the other, it is decreasing. Constant is probably the simplest one. It simply says that the opportunity cost does not change. In order for you to gain one more of whatever good, you are giving up the same amounts of the other to attain it. That is it. Opportunity cost doesn't change. So, with that in mind, let us look at it on a diagram. Nice. Now that we're on open board, we can see a numerical example of increasing opportunity cost. What does this mean? Let's look at a diagram. At first here, we are producing 2 units of good B and 10 units of good A. And notice as well, we are producing only production possibility frontier, meaning we are productively efficient. Now, the next decision we make is, hey, I want to increase my production of good B by 3 units. I need 3 of these. Tell me, how much of good A would I have to give up in order to do that? Well, using the production possibility frontier, we can see that as we go up this line, as it touches the curve, and we come across to this point, what is needed, or what the amount of good A I can produce is now 7. What does that mean? I would have given up 3 units of good A in exchange for 3 units of good B. That's our first initial opportunity cost. And then I say, hey, I want 3 more units of good B. Would that cost me the same 3 units of good A? No, let's examine. We're going to take this line, the 8 point, and go up to our production possibility frontier, right here. And then we're going to come across to see how much units of good A we are producing at that point. Let me get a straighter line. Let me get a straighter line again. Nice. And let's just call out 1. Now, you've gained 3 units of good B, but how much units of good A did you lose in this case? The difference between 7 and 1 is 6. Ooh, let me switch back to the pencil. 7 and 1 is 6. So the first instance, we gave up 3, and the second instance, we gave up 6. If we look at the opportunity cost alone, and then we moved across to 6, our opportunity cost increased. It increased. This is what this curve represents. As you gain or you try to produce more and more units of one good, you need to give up additional units of the other. Not just additional, but an increasing amount upon every iteration. An increasing amount every time you increase the production of good B. This is increasing opportunity cost. Let's move on to decreasing. Look at this diagram. This curve, this blue line that we see running here, is totally opposite from the first one we discussed for increasing opportunity cost. The blue line is described as convex to the origin. The red line from before is described as concave. It bowls in. It's like a bowl to the origin, if you understand, all right? And let's look at the numbers now. At first, we're producing at this point. We only want 1 unit of good B, and for that, we are getting 9 units of good A when we are producing like that. Now, if we decide, hey, we want more units of good B, but I say, well, let me produce 2 units of good B. You get 1 additional unit. What do you give up in order to gain 1 additional unit, assuming this economy is operating on the production possibility frontier? Well, you lose this amount, and let me switch that to red so it's a little more visible. You lose this amount in order to gain this amount. You've given up 3 units of good A in order to get 1 unit of good B. That's your opportunity cost. Nice. Now, you say, hey, I need more units of good B. Same thing, I need more. Good, you've increased production again by 1. You've gained an additional unit. Now I ask, how much did you give up? What was the opportunity cost now? Well, you've moved from producing 6. If you're producing 3, then we're gonna take this line straight up to the production possibility frontier. And we say, hey, now you're producing 4 units of good A. Okay, cool. And if you're moving from 6 to 4, you've just given up 2. You've given up 2 units. Let's take it even further. I need more. I need more units of good B. So what do? Well, based on that, let me see how much units of good A you're going to produce now. Take this line across. You're producing 3 units of good B. Sorry, of good A now. What does that mean? You've moved from 4 to 3, which means 1. You've given up 1 unit of good A in order to get 1 unit of good B. If you look at this carefully, what was our opportunity cost all this time? Look, I wrote this in the wrong place. 1. Right, we've been giving up what? We've given up how much? At first, we've given up 3. Then we gave up 2. Then we gave up 1. Our opportunity cost all this time has been decreasing. And this is the point of this diagram, to show that what you give up in order to get an additional unit is going down upon every iteration. Every time you produce an additional unit of good B, you're giving up less and less of good A to get it. And that is the point. Let's move on to our last one. Our last diagram, constant opportunity cost. And as the name implies, it says that the opportunity cost for producing an additional unit of one good over the other stays the same. All right? So let's take a look at the diagram. Please note it's not drawn to scale. So if you get into counting any grids, it's not going to work out. But listen and look at the explanation here. The first point of production is this one. Let's call this point A. At point A, we're being productively efficient because we are producing on the production possibility frontier. At this point, we're getting 2 units of good B and 20 units of good A. Nice. But then we say, hey, we want more units of good B. In fact, we want more to the point where I need 4 additional units. And let me use a different color here. We want 4 additional units of good B. How much units of good A would you have to give up in order to attain that? Given what we've watched, you can pause this video and calculate it. We're moving from producing at point A to producing at point B. How much did you give up here? The difference between 12 and 20 is 8. You've given up 8 units. Nice. Now you say, hey, I need more. I need more units of good B. You've gone to the point where, hey, I want 10 units. You've increased production again by 4. You've increased production again by 4. How much units of good A did you give up? The difference between 4 and 12 is 8 as well. You've given up the same amount despite producing more and more of each commodity every time. This is what constant opportunity cost means. Looking at this, opportunity cost in each instance is the same. From 20 to 12 is 8. From 12 to 4 is 8 as well. That is it. Let us discuss shifts and pivots of the production possibility frontier. Now, based on our example, we know that if we're looking at the diagram, at this point, this is the maximum amount of A you can produce. But in doing that, you're going to end up producing 0 units of good B, and vice versa. This is the maximum amount of good B you can produce, but if you do that, you're going to end up producing 0 amounts of good A. What I'm asking you here is, what can cause you to produce more types, well, more of both goods? And let me just draw the line, and we need to understand this. What can cause you to produce more of both goods? Let's consider this PPF1 and PPF2. What can cause this curve to go outward? Simply put, one of the ways is discovery of new resources. Let's just say the property where you live at, or exactly where you reside, is a country. The walls around your home is a country. And all of a sudden, you discover there's more space across by a neighbor's property. Assume you're only producing 2 goods and you have all the resources needed. It means now, as you've made this new discovery, this new land space is discovered, you can produce more of both types of goods you're producing before. This production possibility frontier needs to shift outward in order to show that. Now, the opposite could happen as well. What happens when you lose resources? Resources could run out. Land sometimes slips into the sea. This causes the production possibility frontier to shift inward. You can produce less of both types of goods. So if you're producing, let's say 5 and 8, when it shifts outward, you're able to produce 16. You're able to produce, let's say, 12. This outward shift shows that you can produce more of both types of goods. There are other reasons as well, and I will list them right now. And last but not least, let us discuss pivots. What does a pivot even mean? Well, simply put, one part of the line stays where it is, and the other part of the line needs to move. This happens when there is some sort of development, but that development only impacts one of the commodities you're producing. Whether you want to consider this an outward move or an inward move. It means that, let's just say you're producing cricks and someone develops a brand new way to make cricks. Fast, it comes right out of the oven using some type of special flour. You are able to produce more cricks with the same recipe that you would have, with the same, not same recipe, my goodness, with the same resources that you were using prior. This is shown by having an outward pivot of the line. Same resources, increase in technology, and this pivots outward. It could also happen if you have a very specific discovery of resources that only relates to one of the commodities. Only good B is going to benefit when you discover this particular thing, or when you develop a particular technology. This is a pivot. One part of the line is the same, while another moves, whether inward or outward. We finally finished discussing increasing, decreasing, and constant opportunity cost, as well as shifts and pivots of the production possibility frontier. Now it's up to you to practice the content. If you do like the content, subscribe to the channel and please like the video. That will let me know if I need to do more of this type of thing for you all. See you all next time, alright?
Tired like that, man. Sleep until the next day.